Wouldn't a flat tax be great? No, it would actually be terrible. A flat tax, to refresh your memory, is a tax system where everyone pays the same flat rate. That sounds fair, right? If the flat tax rate were 10%, then everybody simply pays 10%, rich or poor. All get equally stung by the tax collector. But that's the tricky part. A flat tax only seems fair. In actuality, it's a way of enforcing inequality. This is why rich people love the flat tax. Imagine that 10% flat tax again. Under such a system, a person making $10,000 would owe $1,000. A person making $100 million would owe $10 million. This doesn't sound that unfair until you realize that the person making $10,000 now has to live off just $9,000, while the person making $100 million still has $90 million left over. This is why progressive taxation was created. Rich people pay more in taxes because they can afford to pay more in taxes. If the tax man takes a big bite out of a rich person's annual income, they're still going to have tons left over because they're rich. Jesus actually illustrated this point with the Bible story of the widow's mite. This story is so crucial to Christ's message, it's actually in two of the Gospels, Mark and Luke. In the story, Jesus and the disciples sat by the temple treasury, watching people make their offerings. The rich made ostentatious displays with the great sums they were donating. Then, an impoverished old widow came up and placed two mites, the King James version of 2 pennies, which were actually known as lepta in ancient Greek, worth even less than a penny, the smallest denomination of currency in ancient Jerusalem. She puts 2 mites into the offering box. Seeing this, Jesus had one of his "Verily I say unto thee" moments, declaring that the old woman had put more into the offering box than anyone else. This was because the extravagant sums given by the rich were only a small fraction of their wealth. The aged widow gave everything she had. By the same token, the dollar total paid in taxes isn't really the point. It's how much you have left over afterwards. The rich pay more in taxes because they can afford to. Important capitalist theorists like Adam Smith also favored progressive taxation. Writing in Wealth of Nations, basically the Bible of modern capitalism, Smith said, "It's not very unreasonable that the rich should contribute to public expense not only in proportion to their revenue, but something more than in that proportion." English philosopher and prominent capitalist theorist Jeremy Bentham agreed, saying, "Most taxes are as all taxes ought to be, taxes upon affluence." Even hardcore conservative heroes like Milton Friedman have at times supported progressive taxation. Friedman was in favor of creating what we now call universal basic income, considered by many a left-wing idea today, paid for with progressive taxation on the rich. Yet despite more than 2 millennia of history and vast literature on the subject, written by some of the most eminent names in economics and philosophy, including Jesus Christ, support for the flat tax has come roaring back in our day. We'll take a closer look at that tomorrow, including some epic flat tax failures. You won't want to miss it. In the meantime, please like, follow, favorite, and subscribe to my free Substack. Let's make them pay.